Okay, so hold on, go ahead.
Call the meeting to order at 4:03. In attendance are Eric Eichhorn, Bretta, Allison,
Petrosyan. Yep.
and Jill. Hopefully Renee will
And Jeff
get
is
on.
here.
And and Jeffrey.
And we do need to state that this meeting is being recorded.
I'm out.
Okay, and I don't see any members of the public for public hearings. So the first order of business is the approval of the April 15th minutes, which I did email to everybody separately. If you would like, I can put them up on the, oh no, I can't. Well, I can from here. So hold on. Just have to figure out how to do this. Open recent. So these are the minutes from the meeting before we met with Helena. This is from the 15th. It was our first online meeting.
I read them over when you sent them, and they looked fine to me. So I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay.
All in favor?
Second.
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you. The second order of business that I have on the agenda is the budget. And this is just a piece of information that's going to inform what's coming up next. When I stopped by town hall, Brian and Julie let me know that there was $29,000 in our revolving account at the end of April, largely because we didn't have baseball uniforms to purchase. So only about, I think it's 5,000 of that gets rolled over to next fiscal year. The other, however much, 24,000 disappears at the end of the year. It goes into the town's general fund if we don't use it, but these are funds that come from the summer camp tuition from last summer, and then also our sports. So some of those funds go towards paying the initial summer camp staff salaries, and they also pay for some of the supplies and the booking costs for field trips ahead of time. And 5,000 rolls over to next year to help us get a head start on the summer camp. But that leaves us with about anywhere from $15,000 to $19,000 left that we can spend. You guys can vote to distribute towards different projects. So I wanted to keep that in your heads that we have about $15,000 to $19,000.
Okay, if we end up approving the banners for seniors, it would come out of that, right?
If you choose to, yes.
Okay.
But we still could move some money probably over.
Yes. So whatever
Yeah,
we
you
need to do.
use or lose.
Right.
So when we get to talking about the banners, one of the things I'm going to ask you guys to do is, I talked to Dan Hale, but I haven't gotten an estimate from him yet. If you can give me a ballpark that you would approve to spend on that, then we can go from there. So because there's other stuff coming up as well, including remulching some of the parks downtown in Irving Center. So just keep in mind that we have this 15 to 19, and you can allocate it however you want, but we need to spend it if we want to use it.
Okay.
Okay.
I want to use it. I'm all for using it. So let's come up with some ways to use it.
Okay.
Hey, I'm
more.
online. Sorry, I just realized I was muted. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yes.
Now we can.
Okay.
Renee, was that you saying you were online?
I am. I'm online.
Renee.
I can hear you.
Awesome.
Okay. Yeah, no, I sent her my call-in thing. Hey, so that's fine. Is there a way to earmark some of that for the cheaper equipment that we're talking about putting at these parks and starting to purchase it now, knowing that what our ideas are well over the budget that was originally thought of?
Now that's some of it, but we would have to purchase that ahead of time. We can't roll it over. I don't know, unless Brian, I don't know if Brian can hear me or not. He might not be able to at this point, but it could be that you vote to transfer some of that money into another fund, but not everything just rolls right over, I believe.
Right.
I think at the end of the fiscal year, whatever's not used goes back into the general fund and we start over with a brand new annual budget.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
I'm game for purchasing and using the money. I feel like we have so many things that we've all talked about wanting to buy for these parks, and we know that, after that first meeting, Bretta, where you and I sat and chatted with Jeff about structure and stuff, I mean, everything's so freaking expensive. So to have that kind of money and be ahead a little bit this year, it would be nice to kind of hold some over and earmark it towards the things we really want.
All right, well, I'm gonna write a note of that too, because I think that was one of the things that we were initially talking about when I was told that. Brian said, oh, this could be something where you could potentially purchase some equipment ahead of time. We would just need to store it somewhere until they can install it.
Well, we have that big storage thing at Zelensky. We have that thing.
Cargo shipper, yeah.
What do you call, yeah, that, and we don't have that fence anymore that we bought it for. So we have room for storage. I mean, if we ended up buying a couple of park benches and trash cans, which were some of the things that we couldn't fit into the budget, I mean, that's what we do. We use that money for things that are going to complete the park, I guess. So.
Okay.
But I think that makes sense, especially if those were a couple of the things that went. I mean, those nicer trash cans and picnic tables and benches, that's really, other than a play structure, is really what we want to spend our money on for that.
Right.
Definitely.
Okay. The other thing that I don't have on our agenda, but I did want to bring up that relates to this, is I just met with Glenn and Thomas and Mariah and Brian, and we looked at Church Street Park and Zelinsky Park, because if we're not doing anything with those two parks for the next, say, 5 to 10 years or 5 years at least, we have to, right now they're not safe. They wouldn't pass code because there's no kind of use zone crash pads on them. All of the engineered wood fiber has worn away or been kicked away and has grown over with grass. So we did some measuring and called for some estimates. I'm waiting to hear from Cindy Mack still on her estimates, but it's probably going to come in the same ballpark as what I got from US Playground Surfaces, which I guess he's worked with the rec department before. His name is Michael McGuffey, if his name is at all familiar. And he's out of Connecticut, down near Hartford. And he said that it would be multiple trucks, but the way it works out is the engineered wood fiber, which is what we have there, we would pull up the old stuff and the old fabric, put down new fabric, dig down a foot on some cases, and in some cases we'll just layer a foot over top because of where the cement things are for the poles. He said that it comes to about $21.87 per yard, cubic yard of compact 12-inch. That would make our cost somewhere, because we would need anywhere between, I want to say it was 6 to 850 cubic yards. It's, I think, the high end for us.
That was at Church Street?
That's Church Street and Zelinsky both.
Okay, well, there should be money already set aside for Zelensky's mulch
So
that
it-
I went to the town
came
for.
It came out to between 15 and 19 just for the mulch. And that depends on how we measured it. And I'm waiting to find out if it's the 19 or the 15. I have to hear back from Glenn. If it's the 15, that's our entire budget for Zelensky. That's also supposed to be for ADA.
Wow.
Yeah. So the question is do we want to pull some of the funds? Now though the remulching has to be done to make those usable and to stop them from being a liability, because right now both playgrounds are a major liability in terms of personal injury for people using them. There's cement posts or pillars. The bases for the posts are set in cement or asphalt that comes right up to the surface of the grass because it's worn away that much. So we need a foot on top of that, or we need to dig down and reset some of the things. One of the things we talked about was making the footprint at Zelensky smaller by removing one of the swing sets and just going with 2 swing sets instead of 3. And removing the merry-go-round wheel, which is old and probably
No.
not up to safety standards, as fun as they are, and moving the balance beam to have a smaller footprint, and that's where we got the measurements that we took. So if we do that, then also adding, and Glenn is pricing out adding a walkway to make it ADA compliant around the edge of the playground, from the parking lot around behind the baseball field and by the picnic tables and over by the basketball court and over to the playground. That's definitely going to be over our budget by far. So the question then is, do we want to look at using some of the revolving funds to cover the difference?
It sounds like we don't have a choice, do we? I mean, if we have to put this mulch in.
I think the only other option would be to close the parks, which is not
Not a good option.
a good option at all.
No, I say that makes total sense. I mean, I hate to take away some of those structures. Is there a way to move them into a smaller footprint instead of removing them completely?
Well, there are 3 swing sets at Zelensky, and we were looking at them, and I think there's a total of what 10 big swings and 3 or 4 little swings, like for toddlers. So if we just even took out one of those swing sets, and I don't know if we could relocate that somewhere or what condition it's in, but if we took that out and switched 2 of the swings around, because we have some old infant swings that just have a chain across the front, they don't have anything that goes between the legs, so they wouldn't pass safety inspections anyway right now. So we need to get an updated seat in there. If we shift seats around, then I don't know. Have you guys ever seen all of the swing sets being used there?
Only when we have sporting events, mainly is when I've seen people using them. I mean, I'm sure people must go during the regular season.
So if we only had 2 swing sets, 1 big person and 1 little person, do you think that would be enough?
I think that would be fine.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we had talked about was just removing 1 of them and leaving the other 2 there and shifting some of the seats around.
Okay.
And then that circular thing that spins is ancient. I don't know what the paint on it is like, but it's ancient. So we talked about potentially removing that. And if we want to put one back in, they make newer ones that are probably up to different codes at this point. And that's something we could look at in the future.
Next, you're going to say we can't have metal slides. Oh, wait a minute.
I don't even think there are metal slides there. Isn't
Are you for that or against it?
Oh,
No. I'm not a big fan of removing it. I mean, it's like, even my big kids still play on it. So I don't know. That would be that, unless we were actually going to get a new one, I wouldn't want to take it down until we were able to get a new one.
Okay, then I'm going to ask if it's okay with you guys. I'm going to have somebody look at it for safety purposes. because the ones that I've seen that are new look quite different in terms of their design.
They have a big bubble around them.
Yeah,
Bubble wrap.
but if we do that, then that also increases the footprint that we'll need the mulch for, even beyond what I said.
Mhm.
Because we had, when we did the measurements, we were trying to cut that out to see how much we could save for what, and that was the oldest looking piece of equipment there. So if we keep it, I can figure out what
Does that even have mulch around it? Isn't it just on the grass?
it is now, and it needs to have mulch around it in a 6-foot perimeter plus.
So grass is no longer an acceptable place to play.
No.
This is crazy.
No,
Nope,
grass
no,
is
grass
not.
is dangerous.
Well,
Ugh.
grass doesn't have an impact. It doesn't impact
Oh.
well. So grass is no good unless you want to put in fake grass. But otherwise, grass is no good. So it would have to have the wood around it, the engineered wood fiber.
Mhm.
And once that's in, if we maintain it, you really only have to top it off maybe once a year and fluff it regularly. And
Mhm.
that lasts, I think, about 5 years before you have to consider, like, and you just keep renewing it, but it's an annual cost to renew and to maintain it.
Mhm.
But that's our cheapest option for that park right now, for those 2 parks.
And we have some money set aside for the ADA compliant there. How much do we have in a budget for that?
I think it's 15.
Okay.
So we would need beyond that for the mulch, plus beyond that for the walking path.
Right. And the walking path was that going to be asphalt or just like a gravel?
No, it has to
type
be
of-
asphalt.
It was either going to be
Okay.
asphalt or concrete, and you guys could decide on which you wanted. I guess concrete can be colored to make it not look so gray. And like asphalt will buckle and then go back down again, whereas concrete will crack. But there's, Thomas was saying there's pluses and minuses to both.
Mhm.
Well, the
So
cost of concrete's going to be more.
Asphalt's pretty cheap right now.
Yeah,
no,
pretty
yeah,
cheap.
there you go. He seemed to think that they were fairly comparable.
So in that case, probably just whatever we can get in our budget, whatever's the most affordable, and then, maybe use whatever we can for mulch there, and then our overflow, our recreation, or our whatever that
Revolving.
account is, revolving account. Thank you.
Okay.
Supplement that. And I mean, and then if there's anything left, it doesn't sound like there's going to be, then that's when I guess we should start thinking about other purchases we could make for the new parks. But it sounds like we have to get mulch in. There's no sense in building a new park if we can't even use the ones that that we have
Yeah.
already. So.
Okay, so question, what about, I've seen at other parks, Bretta, maybe you saw this as well, but that they use the little itty bitty pea stone for their impact material or whatever. I mean, is that, and then you don't have to replace stone, it doesn't degrade. I mean, that's what we use. We don't use mulch anymore because I was tired of buying it, so we use red rock stone. Can't you use that under a play structure?
I don't think that stone or gravel, like that kind of thing, is going to pass with the state.
Okay, just curious. Okay.
So for the state, it's poured in place. It's the bonded rubber, or it's the engineered wood fiber, or turf with a layer of rubber padding underneath it. And sand has its own issues. But it's something that has to be compactable and soft and give when you land on it. So I think in a backyard, it's one thing, but for a town playground that has high structures, it's a whole other kettle of fish.
Okay, well, I guess at this point, maybe you could make priority list of what, if we're gonna have to do mulch and the sidewalk first, and then, if there's money left in the budget, then we could talk about, purchasing a bench or two or something. But it sounds like, we need actual numbers before we can vote on something, right?
Well, unless we
Okay.
made a decision of saying we're going to take $15,000 from the revolving fund and make a motion to move that to Zelinski mulch, or mulch ADA compliance, and then whatever's left,
Okay.
if that's $4,000, we'd have that. I imagine you're going to spend a couple thousand to do those banners and mounting hardware and labor.
Mhm.
I don't see that being less than $2,000.
Right.
Did I miss
Anything
the
cheap.
Did I miss the conversation about the banners?
No,
No,
not
we
yet.
haven't talked about it yet.
Oh, okay.
Just so you're aware, Brian was saying that he has some money set aside because they were thinking of purchasing banners anyway for the town. So
Okay.
he might be able to cover the banners and the hardware, and we would do the banners.
Okay, so
And if not, then he got lucky that we've already decided we're buying some.
Yeah.
There you go.
We motion
So,
to move 15,000, hold the say 4,000, and then whatever's left, if we have time, we could roll that over to, once we get the price on the banners.
okay.
So
That way
Eric, are
we're-
you making the motion to,
I make a motion to move $15,000 from the revolving account to the Zelinski Church Street ADA compliance.
We
Anyone
have a
second
fund for that?
Yes.
we have a line
have-
for that,
That was just added.
for mulch?
I went to the
and
budget last
ADA.
year for it. Yeah.
Okay. So
For both
Eric,
of those
I second it.
okay. Did anybody want to
favor?
discuss?
I
Aye.
All in
All right.
favor? Do we have unanimous all in favor?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so the motion to move 15K from the revolving account to the Church Street and Zelinski Field account for mulch and ADA compliance has been approved with unanimous, with Allison seconding, Eric moving. All right, that's one. Summer parks, before we get to banners really quickly, summer parks, the jobs have been listed on the town's website, on Facebook, GCC's online job board, and in the Greenfield Recorder. The
I have
deadline,
a quick question
okay, go ahead.
about Summer Park, because I wasn't at the meeting where you guys decided on it. Is it happening at the school?
We have to find out. There is a school committee meeting on the 19th.
So we're already taking people, but we're not sure where we can hold it?
Yep. I talked to
Okay.
Brian and mentioned that we may need to find an alternate site. And he seemed to think that it could be possible that the building for the old library building is still definitely viable. It's just a matter of getting somebody in there and checking it out beforehand to make sure nothing needs to be done last minute before people use it. Or we could use the rec center, in a pinch for rainy days. The one problem is that there's no playground at Zelinski.
Yep.
I don't think the school is going to be as big as issue as we think.
Yeah.
Talking to other
What?
people, I don't think the school issue is going to be as big of an issue as we think.
No,
Just
I
because
think that
the roof project's going to get delayed, so that's
But I-
not going to be an issue. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, I don't think the school committee is going to vote it down, but I don't think the principal is going to be happy with it.
Principal don't have any choice.
It's the school committee that decides,
Well,
Renee.
the principal doesn't have any choice, but keep in mind, we still have to deal with her. So let's keep it, is she
We'll
there?
deal
She's
with the
going to
school
vote.
committee.
No, I hear you.
It's the principal there. And she did call me out in front of the whole bus line, so it's not the greatest.
She's being a bully, Renee. We've got to stand up to her. You got this.
She is, that's what I'm saying. She is a complete bully, so keep that in mind.
It's all right. We have, I mean, you know, we'll see how it plays out at the school committee meeting, and we'll see what
Yeah,
happens
well, I
there.
have no.
It's too bad she don't live in this town.
The
I know.
the school committee meeting is on the 19th and we're meeting on the 13th before it. So to discuss just this, to figure out, you know, go in and say, okay, what are we going to present to them and what are our options if this doesn't happen? But I think there's
Okay.
so many families in town that rely on it for inexpensive child care during the summer that the school committee recognizes that and will understand that, and they'll do the best that they can to accommodate if they can.
No, I completely think the school committee will vote yes. I'm just saying, I don't know. The principal clearly did not want it there. So I'm just saying, just a heads up that she was not for it.
Okay. And she'll be
Noted.
at the school committee meeting too. So she can add her voice in there. In terms of registration, we have 3 families registered so far. We opened up on May 1st. And there is that contingent that if the state says that we can't run summer parks yet, at that point we won't be running it and we'll just refund families who've paid.
Okay.
Who wants to, should I speak to the school committee about putting us on the agenda?
Yes, get us on their agenda, and then we can discuss what we're gonna say or who's gonna present it at the meeting, I guess. I'm not really sure how that will work, but
Hey, I believe I already told Eric.
Yeah, he's the one that will put on the agenda.
Yes.
He's the chair still, right?
Yes.
Eric Sem still there? Yeah. Tell him and he'll have it put on the agenda.
All right, so I'll just shoot him an email and just make sure I'll stop by and say something if he's down.
Perfect.
All right, hold on. All right. And so we'll discuss that further. I'll have some news for you on that and we can discuss that further at our next meeting. Then now we've moved to the banners. This is where I have unless anybody else has anything to say about Summer Parks program. Okay, so the banners. I talked to Dan Hale, or Brian actually called Dan Hale, and I was there, and so we were on speakerphone with him, and he gave Brian some of the numbers for the hardware and things, and then we talked about the potential for printing these things out on vinyl, and he said he needs about a 10 to 12 day leeway advance time for notice to print, sew, cut, and then sew the banners. I emailed him dimensions and ballpark figures because I don't know for sure how many graduating seniors we have. So I said 12, 13, maybe 14. And I gave him 2 sets of dimensions, either 2 by 4 or 2 by 5. And then the question of a photograph and some simple text or just text. Because I was talking with the superintendent's assistant, the executive assistant to the superintendent at in Turner's Falls, and she said a faculty member took the photos, and the resolution of the photos that he took, if he still has those files, were for printing in a book, and it's not going to be the same as blowing up big on a banner. So if that's the case, the images may not hold up well. They may get all pixelated once you blow them up big for printing. So if the pictures aren't possible, there's the option of just using graduates' names. And each one could say, congratulations, the person's name, 2020. And Dan would design it up so it looks nice. He can put things on a diagonal or whatever, and we can give him a color scheme if we want.
I'm good with that. We don't need to have pictures, I guess.
I like the pictures, but okay.
This
As
would-
you all know, it's the whole thing. So
Now
that's
here's
my opinion.
the one thing. So what were you saying, Renee? That you're
I was
against
just
it?
saying, no, I'm not for it. But as
Okay.
a parent, I would just opt. So
So yeah, and so this is the other thing is we can't get a list of the names of graduates. It goes under confidentiality. So even the town doesn't have the names of the people that they pay for, only the person who sends out the checks and the superintendent do. It all gets done through the school union. So what we would have to do is write a letter and request that the superintendent maybe contact or send out to all graduating senior families a release form that would either be signed by the families and they would have to submit to us the photographs, or because otherwise we have to go to each school and find out and do the same thing for them to give us permission to get the photos, and I don't think we have time for that. Or if the graduating senior is 18 or older, they can give their own permission. So what I'm worried about is we won't get photos from everyone, and then it'll look inconsistent with some photos. We can
Right.
certainly try, but if we can't get enough, are people okay with just the names?
Yeah, so I'm fine with that.
So I guess my only question is, are we just going to give the choice to the parents? If they would like a photo, they can share a photo. If they only want the child's name, and I mean, I guess all these children are individual. There's no reason that the banners have to be the same. So if parents do want their photo, we could technically do that, correct?
Right.
Yes.
how much was it per banner? I didn't catch the money part of it.
I'm still waiting to hear from him, but when I looked online and just was looking at some of the commercial sites, it was about, it ranged anywhere from $100 to $200 per banner.
That's not including the hardware.
That's
But
not
Brian
including
might
the hardware, and we might not be paying for the hardware.
Okay.
And those were single-sided. I'm not sure if he can print double-sided so that the other side looks good because they'd be visible from both sides.
Still hang them, and we're hanging them in downtown, like down
So that
there
was the
on
other
Route 2?
that was the other question we had. I know the last time we were back and forth via texting is what about putting them on Moore Street on this side of town? I mean, then it's not on Route 2. I mean, it is still a highway technically, but this is the road that leads from our elementary school to most of these kids' high schools over up in Turner's.
I think the problem was we can't hang them on telephone poles. It has to be our own property of the town.
Right.
Telephone poles by the
Downtown has
company.
lamp posts.
Well, hold on.
Yeah.
We can hang them on Eversource poles. We cannot hang them on the other companies,
Well,
So
that
you'd be,
whatever
you'd
it
be
is.
fine
Well,
on,
town,
yeah,
Oh,
Oh.
of course.
that's great.
I think Eversource owns all those, and National Grid starts at my road going the other way.
Yep. So
Okay.
National Grid is Town Center, and then Irving side is Eversource.
And so we can put them on Eversource?
We can, yes. They don't care.
Yeah, so I mean, that's another option. And then it's more, like, I get what Renee's saying. I do. I mean, and it is more of a highway that is super traveled, whereas this is still recognizing them in town. But it's on a more quieter street. I don't know. Just a thought.
I like the idea down. I mean, I know that it's not my child graduating this year, and like I said, I most likely will opt out of it anyway, but I think it's safer. I'm just thinking, as you guys said, Dabby's in the paper for sports and everything, and when I looked up Bryn's name, I got a bunch of stuff from her, but some creep driving from Boston to Springfield isn't getting the Greenfield Recorder. They're getting their face and name shining at you from a telephone pole. That's all.
Right.
I don't.
I'd
Way to
already decided I would do one or the other. I'd probably just do a picture just because her name is so unique or something. But right, I mean, that's definitely something to consider. But again, you know, you would have to have permission from every child or parent. So it's not like we're going to be held responsible for anything.
Yeah.
That's a personal choice, you know.
Yeah, I say do it. I say give the parent, you know, I kind of feel like if they don't want the picture in the name, then we don't do the picture in the name. If that's what the parent wants, then we do it.
Right.
If we did Moore Street, I'm sure we'd have to pay for the hardware.
Yes.
That's the only other thing, because they're putting signs downtown. So there would be an additional cost for Moore Street, but I'm not against that.
Okay. We just have no idea what that would be, right?
When we were looking at the hardware, we were talking about it for the lamp posts. We did not talk about it for telephone poles.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's just a bracket that if they're hanging, they're probably hanging vertically banners. So it'd be like something
top and
similar
bottom
to a
bracket.
flagpole. Yeah, top and bottom bracket that goes into into the banner at the bottom and the top and then screws into the pole.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's anything that they're going to sell the state is going to cost $50 per pole or something. Sure. So, you know.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
But I like the thought of that being in our town, you know, locally.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Agree. So do we
Or,
have to make a motion or
If
we have to
yes,
agree?
we do
Doing
need to
it.
make a motion on this one, and also the decision of where you would want to have them. So both.
So I make a motion to have banners for our town of Irving graduates, and to allow the parents to choose what to be on the banner and have them posted along Moore Street on Irving side.
Does anybody second that?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Me.
I am not.
Okay.
Renee abstains, or no.
I'm
Also,
I'm
like
sticking with
hardware.
safety.
If the hardware is too expensive, then we may need to relook at hanging them up on Main Street. But we can talk about that, I guess, when that time comes.
Okay. That
Well,
sounds
you
good.
made a motion to purchase. Do we have a limit on how much we're willing to spend on something like this?
That was going to be my next question. Yep.
Well, let's say if every sign is $150 times how many kids did we think? Where's my little calculator?
Initially, you were saying 12, maybe 14. I don't know if there's any seniors who go to private schools.
There
I'd
is,
say you get 10
whether or
people
not her parents
probably.
opt him up.
So
2,500?
2,500, I guess, because 2,100 would be the signs at 150 each, and that's 14 kids, which I think some of the kids have moved out of town, so I don't, it may not have that many, but and then for hardware, so if we say $2,500, maybe.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm okay with that. I don't know. I mean, I feel like we just talked about how we have all this money in our bank that we didn't use to purchase uniforms. So this is one way to celebrate the kids in this town.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going towards the children.
Yeah, I mean, the hardware allow us to reuse the banners going forward, either for seniors going forward or in other signs that we could
Right.
Yeah.
come up with something for. Maybe we could honor veterans or honor,
Right.
people could purchase them on their own
Mm-hmm.
for some type of, fundraiser, or just a lot of different potential
Right.
on that.
Right. I
Summer
agree.
parks, like the different park programs.
Yeah,
and
we could
rec
do
programs.
flyers for that, banners. So I guess Bretta, Dabney and
Yep.
I can sit down and get a list of whoever she was in her 6th grade class. We'll get her picture and her t-shirt or whatever, and we'll try to figure it out. I mean, are you able to contact these parents on Facebook, or, I mean, is that a
No,
legal way to
I
get?
will not be contacting them directly. I'll contact the school superintendent's office, and then if they will hopefully send it out for us
Okay,
You think?
so
to the families.
I'm
because-
just concerned that that's gonna like delay it for weeks, you know? I don't know how compliant they'll be. I mean, I'm just thinking, I mean, I don't mind contacting most of the parents I know and I'm friends with on Facebook. So, I don't mind it. I just don't know if that's I guess if I contact them, let them know we're doing it, and we could email them a questionnaire or something, and then they could email things back. It might just make it go a lot faster than going through the schools and then waiting on them. We don't know what schools are going to do it, and if 3 kids are at one school and they don't get the information, I just feel like it would be easier if maybe Dabney and I can do the legwork and get the information out to the parents that are still here and are.
I think I think it should be left. I know it would be faster, but I'm just thinking about that. What if you talk to somebody, it didn't go through the school, and something happened to that child because their face was posted there? Is it now reliable?
Right, but we're not, Renee,
So
I'm
if you
just
go through the
contacting them.
school-
No, I'm just
I know.
contacting them saying we're doing this. We're gonna send you a letter about it, because I'm afraid if we wait for the schools, then we'll be waiting for months. I just think that if we want to be able to send this out soon so parents can send it back, they're still going to have to send back a signed questionnaire, and then they're still going to have to email us a photo. So we're not doing anything without their consent still.
Yeah, I don't understand why we have to go through the school.
It has to do with confidentiality and making sure that we get all of the school students. So if somebody got forgotten, or
So why can't we just post a thing in the around town
there is no around town.
for June? No.
They're not doing one. Well, June won't be in time unless we want to do this over the summer. I thought you guys wanted to try to get this up for June.
Yeah, I
Right.
was just thinking, if there was something in the paper, I mean, we could still put it in. I mean, it's not to say that if somebody says no at first and then all of a sudden they decided they wanted to, that we couldn't put up another banner, right?
So what is the date that you're looking for these to be installed? Because the June around town, if it goes out, because they're not doing a May one, so they'll put out the June one. But if they're going to put out a June one, it won't get to people until June 1st or 2nd. By the time they get everything to us, say that's 2 weeks later, and then 10 more days to print, we're looking at the end of June.
And
Well,
let's
no,
be
I'm just saying,
honest, I don't think that.
If it came out the
people
first
even
week
read
of
the
June
around
and we
town.
said that they were due to rec by the 5th of June, I mean, there's stuff that's in the flyer sometimes that is literally coming upon you within days. I just feel like it's our way of putting it out there so that people could see that to contact us if they hadn't heard about it prior to then, just as a backup method to put the word out.
I
Okay,
guess
then-
I just feel like the around town, look how many people are putting trash out at the end of their driveways. No one's reading the around town. Is that really going to be the most reliable way to get this information out? I think, and then, so if people aren't responding until the 2nd week of June or 1st week of June, then it's another 2 weeks before we even get the sign. So it's probably going to be the end of June.
I was saying more as a way to put it out there and post to people who will, even after we did 100 ways to contact people, will still say we didn't reach out to them. So I'm just saying, put it in the around town if people didn't initially respond. I agree with you, Allison. I think that they need to be, we have enough seniors, and we know 2 seniors in this town that have names of kids, and PTO just took in 7 applications of seniors applying for scholarships, so we know there's at least 7 that live in this town. So there's ways to figure that out and get this moving, I would think, before having to go through the high schools.
Yeah, I'd say we still need to start with the high schools.
And
Just put
I will
that
say,
out and then supplement with Allison and Abney's idea. I mean, there's nothing hurting, if we're going through the proper channels the first way, and there's nothing to say that we can't supplement that with, additional sourcing. I think that'll cover all the bases that we need.
Okay.
also,
I
it's
mean,
not
I'm
going
not
to go
against
to
you
the
around
high
town either. I
schools.
mean,
It's going to go to the superintendent, and then ideally the superintendent, who has all of the names and addresses, will send it directly to each family. So it's not going to be going to the schools from the superintendent. There's not that extra little middle step. It'll
Gotcha.
just go from our superintendent to the families. So that
And
might
then-
make it a little faster. Plus, if Allison wants to go by word of mouth,
yeah, and
that
then we
could
work
work
on our
too.
own list, on the backside. And I think between the two, we should, be able to get a consensus on how many children.
Right. And I think we know the class list from 6th grade. So if there's a parent that we've not heard from, then we can wait. But if we've heard from all 16 kids and, we know that they've opted in or out, then I think we should be able to move forward. So I think, right, doing it both ways, we'll have it all covered. But yeah, I kind of, if they graduate the first weekend of June, that would be their actual graduation. So I think it would be more meaningful to have them up for that as opposed to, July.
There will be people, I'm sure, that have moved in the town that didn't graduate from 6th grade. So there might be more.
Right, and that'll cover.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I was thinking of the Irving kids, but you're right. I didn't think of.
Oh, I think if they
that-
live in the town, even if they moved in last year,
Right.
they live in the town.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Also, a lot
So
of kids
then-
that went to Irving that don't live around here anymore. So,
Right.
and don't, obviously, so we're not saying they would have to live here now. Like, we're not going to put up a banner for Galen, Mass, even though he graduated from Irving. He
Right.
doesn't
Correct,
live in,
yeah.
and he's graduating, okay.
And the
Yeah,
superintendent will have all of the names and addresses and current residences. So for instance, somebody mentioned, well, what if one parent lives in Irving and another lives somewhere else? Which one is their official school residence? You may say, oh, well, what about so-and-so? Well, you may have to decide, do you want that to be in Irving? If they're spending 50-50, but their official school residence is in Turner's Falls.
Right.
And Turner's Falls is doing something for their graduates.
Correct. Yeah, no,
Right.
I get what you're
So I guess, I'm sorry, I didn't even think of the fact that there could be kids that moved in after 6th grade. So probably going through the superintendent is going to be the only way to get, something out to every family. So I guess let's just go that route and see what happens.
But Allison, I also think that if you know people off the top of your head, it can't hurt to mention it to them.
Okay.
So do we have, do we have these forms already made up for people to sign and fill out?
I have a generic photo release and permission form that I'm going to adapt. It's just something I pulled offline, and it's the I give so-and-so permission to use a photograph and name of my child so-and-so
Okay.
for whatever purpose.
Do you
And then
know what size photo the family has to hand in order for it to be able to be blown up to a telephone
No, I
pole?
have to find out from Dan what that was. Off the top of his head, he just said as large as possible.
Okay.
So it would be digital, not handing in. I think that'd be the only way to,
It would
send
have
a
to be
digital photo. Yeah.
It would have to be digital and very high resolution. So,
Yeah. Okay.
or decent, above a certain amount. Like it has to be one of those big professional level things because it's going to get
Right.
blown up to 2 feet by 4 feet or something like that. So,
Okay. Well, I guess
Um,
at this point, Bretta, I mean, just see if you can get anywhere with the schools because, that's going to be the big hurdle. And if they're willing to send something out, and it should be, if you're wherever your child gets their mailings, that's going to be, I guess, where if they don't send it to Lindsay because her mailings go to Greenfield, then I guess she's not going to be in it. You know what I'm saying? So I guess the
Okay.
kids who get the mailings that are in Irving are the ones who are going to get the
so
permission
resident
slip.
address.
Right.
Okay.
I think that would be a good clear line of, who's included and who's not.
So I'll contact the school union and the super. They're there often. I see the cars there a lot.
Okay.
So I know they're working from the building on and off almost daily. In fact, I usually see cars there. And then once I hear from them, Allison, I can let you know when they give the go ahead.
Okay.
So that way you don't talk to people and then we find out we only have X number of names.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. And
On another note, Brian just did say we have 30,000 for Zelinski's and ADA
Yeah, I saw
improvement.
that. That's crazy.
we have 30.
30,000.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's what I approved it because they had said, oh, that's not going to be enough. So
Oh, okay. Excellent.
Good.
And that's for the mulch too. That's double what I thought it was. Okay.
yeah. So I think with that additional 15 that we should be pretty well off to get all that completed.
Yeah.
All right. And there might even be additional leftover for benches and
Yep.
Yeah.
garbage cans.
Perfect.
Okay. Is there any more discussion on the banners? I'll go with the 2x4 just to give him one size, and I'll say what to give Dan one size, and I'll say what resolution image you want. Are you guys okay with 2x4?
Yes.
Okay. And the price is going to depend on how many he can fit horizontally when he prints, because then he can cut it and he won't have any extra fabric. He'll have the least amount of extra fabric that he needs to get rid of because he charges by the length of fabric.
Okay.
The only other thing then is something that I emailed about. We were looking at grant funding.
One
Sorry.
second. If you guys want to spend money and start sending out stuff, you need to vote on it. You can't do the signs without money. So
Okay.
I thought we voted 2,500. No.
No, you voted on the banners, but officially didn't vote in the 25.
Oh, okay. So
I'm
I guess
against
I make
it,
a
but I
motion
wanted to make sure you guys can do it.
Thank you, Renee.
Thank you, Renee. I'll make a motion to spend up to $2,500 on banners for the Irving seniors.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Hey.
Aye.
I love you, Renee.
All right, so thank you, everybody. The very last thing is that I emailed around a link to the Massachusetts Recreation and Parks Association, which is a statewide organization, kind of a clearinghouse of information, also training and resources and documents, a parks magazine, I guess, or recreation magazine, that basically gives us, if we become agency members for $350 a year, it gives us access to their list of grant funders and training, free training and webinars, etc. It's membership for the entire committee board and 2 staff people.
So I'm all in favor of it. This is getting really choppy and crappy on my phone. So I know Brian had tried to get me going on something like that, and I had fizzled out by that time. But I think it's a good idea. I looked into it, when I was the assistant, and it looks like a good idea. It's a good resource for you and for us. So I'm all for it.
And
yeah,
we would
sounds like a good idea.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Renee.
No, I said it sounds like a good idea. I'm for it.
Okay. We would apply as an agency because we're a town commission, and so it would be $350 for the year. And then everybody would have access to these free webinars and all the resources that they have. But
Okay.
it would help me a lot in terms of finding grant funding and things like that. So. All
Okay, I
right.
make a motion. Do
All
we
right.
accept that?
Jeff made a motion. I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
To spend $350 for the annual Parks and Rec membership.
Thank you very
Approved.
much, you guys. Okay, that was it.
All right.
So we
Thank
just
you.
need to,
I will get
next
started doing
meeting,
the research and contacting everybody. So,
perfect. And we're meeting on the 13th, same
Yes.
format, to briefly go over the school committee plan.
Okay.
I may
Alright.
not be able to be on that call. So
Okay.
that's the 13th is my next chemo, and it's also my birthday. Not the way I planned on spending it, but I probably will not make the call.
To be out to dinner,
Okay.
having a good time.
Yeah, I may be out to lunch, but in my own
Yeah.
bathroom, you know.
We'll parade by your toilet then.
Yeah. I could put you on an audio call.
We're
Yeah,
good.
we
can
could
handle
have a candle for you and you could blow it out.
Anyway, I could let you know very specifically what I had for lunch and breakfast the day before.
perfect.
Okay. And that
Okay.
meeting is at 4:00. So we'll send out information on that one promptly.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, everyone.
All
Talk to
right.
you later.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.